Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Education Lady podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's tech guest. But first, as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, if you're new to the podcast, we do this on every episode. These are all companies I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Tech Tuesday guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. When I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there is so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Mobile. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success. Coaches loved it, parents loved it. It works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out all of their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We also want to thank our friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day for scheduling, rosters, results. For me, the athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is worth the price. It's incredible. Go to homecampus.com to get signed up. That's it. Don't forget to mention the podcast, homecampus.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and their team will have you creating world-class marketing content for your school social media channel in seconds. And it's so easy, even I can do it. Whether it's a social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things your program is doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. Go to Gipper.com. As always, don't forget to mention the podcast. That's Gipper.com. We also want to thank our friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to show off your school record board or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen, that's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to showcase your school's history and your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're completing your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We want to thank our good friends at Hometown. You know, Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions that include things like, oh yeah, digital ticketing, but there's a lot more. How about fee-free fundraising, athletic website construction, and like I said, a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, school administrator, or a head coach, Hometown is going to make it easy for you and your school to save time, to make more money, and bring your community together. To find out more, just go to hometown.com. That's it, hometown.com. And don't forget to mention the podcast. And we also want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, kids, coaches, and parents. And the information that would come back was almost always over the top positive, and it's going to be the same for you. You'll also get to hear from those squeaky wheel parents that you probably already hear from address their issues, keep them from turning into big things. But having that 98% data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with that frustrated parent or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today has an incredible background in athletics, promotion, sports. We're going to be visiting today with Rob Thompson. Rob is involved with several really cool organizations, also founded an organization. He's going to tell you all about himself. But Rob Thompson, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, we were talking before we started recording, a little bit of football, a little bit of, athletic director stuff. We're going to get to that later, but we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Go ahead and take us through your own high school and college days, and then we'll talk some more. But what's the Rob Thompson origin story?
I think it's a typical story of a kid that grew up in the Northeast that played high school football, and grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, which a lot of people know is the actually birthplace of American football by Walter Camp. He created the rules in 1880 as a student athlete. And so there's a rich history here, but it is, and Yale won 18 national championships back in the day. And this is kind of a story that no one's ever really known. So I grew up in kind of this rust belt of the Northeast, of a flyover state as a college, of a high school football player that also played lacrosse, and it was kind of a standard thing. And since there wasn't a lot of junior colleges up here, I ended up playing at the University of New Haven, a Division II school, because I was a Prop 48 kid. And I was a Prop 48 kid that who knew that what that was back in the 80s. And so I ended up playing college football at the University of New Haven for Tony Sperano was our line coach. He grew up here as well, and he went on to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins and the Raiders. And you got Paul Pasqualoni. And so this is a rich history of Steve Adazio, who's the head coach at the University of Florida. They're all from this area. And Kevin Gilbride. So there's a lot here, but it's unknown. So I was kind of that kid that came out, got into playing college football, played a little bit afterwards, a couple of seasons afterwards over in Europe. And I got asked by Coach Sperano to come back and coach line for him. So I was kind of that, just like probably a lot of people listening to this, is you want to work in the industry, but you don't really know where you fit in. Like, you don't know, like, we all kind of got into coaching first. And it's like, that seems like the natural thing to do. I got asked to come back to Boston University when my career was over in Europe. And I was line coach at Boston University when they had football. It's probably my fault that they got rid of it. But so I was the line coach there, and Danny Allen, God bless his soul. And we had a great experience. But what I realized, Coach, was I didn't like the day-to-day. I didn't like how much we were making. It was the 7,000, but I didn't like the day-to-day stuff. I felt like it was a lot of wasted time sitting around, guys complaining and never with their families. And, I was a young guy that was, I ended up marrying my college sweetheart. So she was kind enough to wait for me while I played over in Europe and then come home. And then I left to go coach again. And so I realized quickly there was I always had this stigma of, man, there's a lot of talent in that area, that quadrant of the country, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York. And it's just college coaches aren't flying Northeast, right? Football coaches, they're flying South and West. And I was like, there's got to be a different way. So back then, there was no recruiting services. There was nothing. Like your head coach had to have relationships, right? To get your name out there. This was right around the street in Smith. So I left coach, and I discovered that there was a need to help these kids out. So I started a recruiting service. It's called East Coast Recruiting. And it was one of the very first recruiting services in the Northeast. And go ahead.
I want to get into that later. I want to go back to your own playing days. People that go into coaching or become ADs or guys go into athletics. Not everybody does it. Look at your own high school team. How many guys became coaches or ADs? Was there something about your experience, in high school or even in college that maybe not at the time stood out for you? Hey, I'm going to go into sports, but now looking back with the experience and perspective, you can maybe point to a moment. I'm a big moments guy. That hey, that was a significant moment for me. Anything stick out for you from say your high school or college days, or even younger?
I think the influence that a coach had on me, and I had two incredible coaches that impacted my life, was my high school coach, who was high school line coach, this kind of old gritty Italian guy from Northeast. So you can imagine he smoked, he swore, he scratched, he did about everything you can to violate every rule you can, and but we all just loved him, in a very urban city. He just could relate. Everybody could relate to him. So he had a big impact, and then so did my college coach, Coach Sperano, and it was two major influences on my life. I knew I wanted to be that guy to help. I wanted to be the one that go back and do. I wanted to help. I wanted to coach. I wanted to help impact kids' lives, and I think that's probably the core of your heart, your wife's heart too, and everybody on this call. And I just didn't have that. I didn't know what my pathway was going to be or how I got there. My parents were both very blue collar. So unless you put work boots on or had a pension attached to your career, they didn't believe that it was an actual job. So I started creating my own jobs, and that was my pathway. So my aha moment was there was people out there who helped me with my career and my playing career, but also my post career. And I wanted to do that as well. I just didn't know how. I didn't know where I fit into it. So I think that's a great question, and that's my answer to it. So that was my pathway.
Oh, I love it. Okay, you had the great experience, like we all had, and we had those same coaches too. But you were impacted. You wanted to help. I look at my own career. I'm a little bit older than you, but all I knew was that I didn't want to work for a living. Hey, I can keep playing games. I like this coaching thing. Well, you have to teach too. Okay, I guess I'll teach, but your motivation was a little more altruistic than mine. I just didn't want to go to work in the real world. Um, let's go and talk about your post college, post playing days.
Yeah.
Um, it's you talked about helping kids get recruited, but one of the things I noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, was that there seems to be a theme of marketing, whether it's marketing a kid or marketing a program. Is that just something that was in, as I like to say, your toolbox? You had that tool, or was that something that you developed over time?
The one thing I loved about college coaching the most was the recruiting process, right? So that's marketing. That's sales. That's a sales
Yeah,
job, right?
absolutely. Hmm.
Right. You got to be a good salesman if you're going to be a recruiter. Personal relationships with the parents, and then ultimately finding that right place for a kid who's this is their first massive decision in their life. Right. It's where you go to college. It's who you marry, and it's probably the career path you take. So this is the first one. And for me, I realized that earlier on. And I think the one thing I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. It goes along with kind of why I had challenges academically is that I didn't discover that I have dyslexia and all of that and all those things that come along with it. It opens up your creativity. And that's the benefit. That's the superpower of dyslexia. A lot of entrepreneurs have it. It's not a learning disability. It's an inability to have risk, I guess, or think about risk. So it allowed me to kind of think about that opportunity. I saw an issue and a problem in the marketplace that was helping kids understand what their options are, right? And options for college. And a lot of what, I mean, you guys, you've done it forever, coach, and everybody listen to this. To me, it was always to tell a kid, take the football or the sport out of the equation because chances are you're not going to play all 4 years here, right? This is obviously back in the day. But look at the school. Do you feel comfortable here? Because this is going to be the place you're gonna be for 4 years. Do you want to still go to school here? If that's not it, then go on to the next one. So for me, it was the entrepreneurial spirit that I had earlier on in my career that I think gave me that pathway to kind of really take where I went, obviously, and carve out the career I didn't think I'd ever have.
Now, again, for our listeners, you've had just an incredible journey through the world of athletics. You've worked, with the NFL. You've worked with the D1 universities, and now you're, working with. Well, we'll talk about that later. But um, what are some lessons that you have picked up along the way, working at the highest level, that would filter down and be applicable for, let's say, a high school or college AD or coach is listening right now? What sort of tools can you recommend to them that were successful for you?
I think the one thing for me, I was always willing for the change. I always looked at innovation as a way of, of 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 growing and developing. I think a lot of ADs get stuck in this, certainly in education and higher ed. You can't avoid it. It's kind of institutionalized. The fact that you get into your comfort zone because you don't want anybody inside that box with you. It's like, man, you start focusing on, I got the pension, I got this. I don't want to, the principals and the superintendent. No one understands what we deal with. And the corporate world and entrepreneurship is you can't think that way, right? You got to think of, man, if I could strategically take some chances and think outside the box, wonderful things can happen. And that in your industry, especially with athletic directors. In 1994, the NFL hired me to create the NFL flag program. And there's a big part of that. I won't get into it, how I got there. And anyway, so we got there, and it was so disruptive in the industry because the football guys thought, well, that's not real football, right? And the schools we first partner up with, this is 30 years ago, Coach. The elementary schools and the gym teachers looked at this as an unbelievable unit for them to get all mass participation, non-contact for boys and girls. And as you guys know, and everybody knows, girls are more developed when they're under 12 years old, so they're better athletes than boys are. So it was a perfect sport for 6 to 14-year-old development, not just in football, but get kids to be moving, right? Just to get kids to be active. And so I joined the NFL to be part of the creation of NFL flag. So this is nothing new, and we banged on doors, and this was part before the third parties, right? The big three steps and all these, all these organizations that are building out these programming and tournament-based businesses. We partnered with the schools, and we went into every NFL city. They opened up the doors for them. We provided all the I created all the coaching manuals and all the officiating, and understanding the wants and needs in children, their attention, all the things that you guys live that life, right? You live that life. You ought to write the book on it, right? But it needed a group to come in, and it wasn't football people. It was soccer people that we brought in. So I actually worked with a group of soccer coaches that understood the 3v3, 4v4, explanation, demonstration, participation, all the things most football guys don't forget about, right? There's no line if 20 kids stand in the line while the coach throws the ball, throws go routes. The coach ain't touching the ball, the kids are throwing the ball. Kids are running the ball, kids are catching the ball, right? So they got it. And soccer guys, we needed their look into it. So I was part of that for a good 10 years and kind of developing the sport globally. And it was that thinking outside the box mentality that I brought, and that entrepreneurship mentality that I brought to the table, that it was like, why me? Like, why am I the one who has this flag to run? It was, can we be an Olympic sport? We can, but not in tackle football. How do boys and girls compete together? They can in flag football. And oh, by the way, this is a perfect sport for girls flag football on the high school and college level. Coach, that was 30 years ago that I was banging this drum. And look where it's finally here. It's going to be one of the best female sports that out. I know Florida's wrapping their arms around it. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's an incredible sport. We're not the NFL was never looking for player development. They're looking for fan development. So, and now they got this whole next layer of these girls, these women, young women playing high school and college football. They're going to be executives in the leagues. They're going to be executives on the college level, and they're going to be part of it. So it's much more than just a player development program. It's a fan administrated all the way across the board. So, it took us 30 years to get there, but we're there. Yeah. So.
I can certainly attest to the popularity of flag football here in Florida. It's not statewide, but it's in pockets, and in those pockets, big pockets, by the way, it is tremendously popular. I'm going to say maybe 6 or 7 months ago, we had a coach on. He's the offense coordinator for the varsity team, big school, but he's also the head flag football coach for the girls team, which they do in the spring down here in Florida, and won not just a state championship, but also, I guess, Max Prep said that they were the national flag football champions. So, yeah, states are adopting it, and the NFL is right there. What a cool thing to be involved at the beginning, but also see, the fruits of all that hard work from 30 years ago. Rob, you're also involved with, you're involved with a number of organizations and entities. One of them is, and you mentioned this at the start, the Walter Camp Football Foundation. Share with our listeners, a little bit about what that is and how they might get involved.
Yeah, so Walter Camp Football Foundation is 135 years old. It's the oldest college All-American team, and Walter Camp had a profound impact, and not just football in general. He came up with the foundation of the rules back in 1880, but he saved football from going away when the Ivy presidents wanted to ban football. Because of the rules, there was a bunch of cheating. Guys were all over the place getting paid. So everything that you see happening today happened 120 years ago. It's no different. It was club sports. Guys were keeping the gate of 50,000 people there. So this is a reimagining of the Walter Camp Football Foundation. So it's All-American teams, Division I through NAIA, Player of the Year, Coach of the Year. It's based here in New Haven, and this is the first year they did not have the awards banquet at Yale because of NIL. These All-American players want to get paid to come in. And so this year they brought me in and said, hey, what do we do to kind of change this? And what do we do to reimagine what it is? We don't want to leave the legacy out there. So we're doing a couple of different things. One is a membership program for anybody that played high school and college football. It's called the American Football Alumni Network. So it's a big network of players. So we're really narrowing it down to kind of like-minded individuals that have played the sport before. So it's a celebration of that. The second thing we're doing is because Walter Camp was an innovator and entrepreneur, we're now rolling out of all colleges throughout the country the Walter Camp Innovator Award. So it's going to really highlight and bring those athlete entrepreneurs to the forefront and give them a bridge to kind of take their idea and be recognized for that idea, to provide them with some commercialization, some mentorships. And we're going to do that probably around the bowl games. And then do a bigger celebration, we hope, with the collaboration with the National Football Foundation as well. So we're building those two platforms. And of course, you're still going to have a fan vote with the All-American team. And so Walter Camp is the founding father. And there's no debate about that one. And the problem is no one knows it. So I'm here to tell that story.
I know as when let's go and jump right into it because I think they're connected. Your other entrepreneurial effort, if I may, is
Yeah.
American Gridiron 1880. So
Yeah.
Share with our listeners about that. Talk about maybe how the two are connected. And then most importantly, how can our listeners find out more?
Yeah, sure. So Gridiron 1880 is a joint venture with the Walter Camp Football Foundation. So basically, we're their commercial marketing arm for media, licensing, and special events. So we did this as a shoulder programming. So Walter Camp name in and of itself is not going to sell a lot of merchandise. So this is just, it's kind of like the NFL has NFL properties and NFL Players Association. So this is the Walter Camp property division. So yeah, we created this as a joint venture, and from media partnerships to documentaries to anything on the commercial side, merchandise. So Gridiron 1880 is exactly how American football started. It was the first down, and it was the 10 yard for the first down. So it was a line of scrimmage, and it was the first down. It was the gridiron, and it came into official rules in the year 1880. So if you think about the nostalgia, and it's kind of trending right now. So anybody that's been a part of it, we could, we're geo-targeting those things. So gridiron1880.com is how you find out more about it. There's a membership program, there's merchandise, and there's some other programming and events that we have in there as well. So gridiron1880.com is the best way to reach out, and you can, connect with me on there as well.
Okay. Um, the website is really pretty cool. A lot of features. And again, for our listeners, that's gridiron1880 what for somebody that wanted to really get involved at that next level, what are some of the options that they have on the website?
Yeah, so if you wanted to be a member, and again, you just have to qualify of having played college football. And the benefits of it is you get to be a brand ambassador. So we can't get out to like I said, we go Division I all the way down to NAIA. So to be a brand ambassador and represent the Walter Camp Football Foundation on campus, presenting that award which is such a special award for the school, for the football program, for those coaches, for the alumni. It's a great thing to say that you're a Walter Camp All-American alum, but we need people out there that are going to help us. Instead of just sending a box and a certificate or whatever to them, we want to be able to make it special. So being a member allows you to kind of be part of that brand ambassador, what we call a campus captain. You get access to bowl games, which is our partnerships, and access to special merchandise, and then special events, golf, networking events, and then the community of these former alums. It doesn't matter the division you played, what area you played in. It doesn't matter what school you played, just as long as you were part of that network. And it's a really small community. There's only 5% of high school athletes get to play in college across all sports, right? That's 8 million high school athletes. There's only 500,000 roster spots. So it doesn't matter where you played as long as you get on that team and made that roster spot. We're a celebration of all of those people. So the award that I mentioned, that is a nominated award. There's going to be a high school part of that as well. So we're working with the bowl games to nominate high school kids. So some of you who are watching, you already know who those kids are in your mind, who started t-shirt companies, doing a car washing business. They have an entrepreneurial spirit. This is the era for student athletes. As much as we don't like this change, it's here. But if you think about the benefit for these kids, we grew up doing paper routes and things that were a little bit more manual labor stuff, mowing lawns and washing cars and babysitting. Those days are long gone and they're not coming back. So accept it, right? But what you can embrace is the educational experience that these kids are going to have. You'll learn more in starting a business from your phone and your parents, in your parents' house than you will doing an internship for your uncle's insurance company, right? It's just the reality of it. As educators, once we embrace that part of it, then the world's going to open up for it because we are educators, right? NIL to me is entrepreneurship is the new internship. Giving these kids a pathway for career discovery, right? And not all high schools and colleges are set up to provide that for them. So you could go on gridiron1880.com to find out more information. Reach out to me about it. So I'm long-winded, Coach. I'm sorry. So there you have it.
No, that was exactly what I wanted. Again, the website, gridiron1880.com. Rob, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out to you directly and pick your brain a little bit about, Walter Camp Foundation or football or anything, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you and add you to their network?
Sure, it's Rob at gridiron1880.com. Or the best way really is like how we connected was on LinkedIn. So Rob Thompson on LinkedIn, you put in Gridiron 1880, it'll search it and find me. So just reach out, send me a little note with that, and happy to set up a call.
Well, Rob, thanks again for coming on the podcast. All the best with both, the Walter Camp Foundation and Gridiron 1880. And we're going to have to check back with you, and watch the growth of this program, kind of like, flag football has taken off under your mentorship. Thanks again for being on.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
Hey, for listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this segment just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of athletics along with some best practices. So hopefully you'll join us again on the next episode of the Educational 80 podcast. We'll see you next time. Before we go, of course, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors one more time. Go to Gipper.com, start creating world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. That's Gipper.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame, check out their touchscreen monitors. Great way to showcase your record boards, your Hall of Fame. It's VitalSignsWallOfFame.com. Snap Raise, whether it's fundraising or the other great platforms that they have, check out snapraise.com. Huddle, I used it as a football coach. Our school was a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com for more information. Athleticsurveys.com. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your teachers, your coaches, your parents, you're missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com to get signed up. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Home Campus, as I say, it's a platform you're going to use every single day. Go to homecampus.com. Ohio University's online Masters in Athletic Administration. Check it out at Ohio University. And Hometown. It's not just digital ticketing anymore. Go to hometown.com. See all the things that they can do for you. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on Tech Tuesday on the Educational 80 podcast.